guys, Tomboy601, and today we are in the all-new legendary American battleship, the Vermont. And this is an interesting ship. I'll be honest, I did not expect them to bring this ship this quickly, and I have a couple of theories as to why it is here, and we can get into whether it being here is a good thing or bad thing. But today, we're going to show off a game in it. We're going to talk its pluses, its minuses. Excuse the little stuttery footage. It'll clear up in a second. But let's just talk about it. Vermont, of course, is the keystone, the head, the penultimate, the ultimate legendary American standard battleship, the pinnacle of the line for the Kansas and Minnesota lines. And, well, it's a very strong ship. Let's be clear. You know, I already think American battleships are already pretty strong. They're already pretty impressive vessels. And this just kind of does what that line does, but just does more of it. And to obtain it, it's going to cost you a little. It's either going to cost you 30 million silver, so a decent chunk of change, or it's going to cost you 5,000 doubloons. And I do think it's very interesting that they've gone down this path for the acquisition of this ship when they didn't for the destroyer that's in the shop, that's not in the shop, but is just available in the bureau right now, right? The ultimate German destroyer with its stealth sonar isn't a cost addition in the game, but Vermont for some reason is. So why is that? Well, let's talk its stats first and its build. We are running Azure Lane, Colorado. Vermont has a very long reload at 34.9 seconds, and Colorado's ability to trim that down is very advantageous while still maintaining the excellent accuracy that Vermont offers. And let me tell you, it offers some insane accuracy. The shell groupings on this, while yes, sometimes you'll get some wonky ones. There are other times where things are just stacked and you just chunk people. And, you know, in all fairness, that's kind of what this ship needs to do, right? A 35-second reload, it needs to be impressive when your shots connect for that all to be worth it. And not only is that impressive, I think a lot of the other stats about Vermont is impressive. Its HP, 102,800. The armor, at first glance, I would say, is a fairly impressive layout. 32 millimeter bow and stern, with the side plating and decking being between 50 and 60 millimeters. Of course, if you look at Vermont, you'll notice the shape of it. Lots of big flat lines. And of course, big flat lines like to get full pens. So the armor values are quite high and are quite impressive. And some angling will be beneficial, but a lot of time you're firing at a flat plate, which doesn't gain any benefits from inherent armor angling from the ship's shape. So you'll find a lot of times that good old big penetrations are waiting for you. But that all gets made up for it with its guns, because we've talked about the 34.9 second reload, but it has more than that up its sleeve. For 3-barreled 457 millimeter guns, which I know is a bit disappointing. And I'll tell you why it's disappointing, or at least that value should make it feel disappointing, because of course, 457 millimeters, not enough to bring the Vermont's guns up to Yamato levels of overmatch capability. In fact, when you apply the overmatch formula, it is going to equate to 31.95 millimeters of armor. And of course, World of Warships, they round down to the nearest whole number when talking about armor overmatch. So instead of penning 32 millimeters of armor, which, you know, is a very, very common armor threshold that you find in this game, you'll only be pinning up to 31. And, you know, yes, that's disappointing, but honestly, who needs 32 millimeters, because it's the one shtick Yamato has, and those Yamato players, they got to hold on to something. You know what I mean? Anyways, but it still gets us to a certain value that is going to be important, and that is the 30 millimeter threshold. And this is really important because we are getting to an inflection point in this game, that of the 30 millimeter cruiser. I don't know if you've noticed, but Zhao, one of the more recent Bureau additions, has a 30 millimeter belt. And for a brief window, like when I was testing it, or if you got the ship early, that meant you had very good defenses as Zhao. In fact, the only ship that was out there that could overmatch your armor was going to be Yamato and Musashi. And of course, that's kind of expected. But everything else, your belt could bounce. That all changed when they released the Ohio this past winter, because now a ship that is a lot more common, or at least another ship that is out there that's going to be played a lot more. I know Yamato and Musashi are really well big played, but there's a certain kind of person that plays Yamato only, or that plays a ton of Yamato, so they're kind of just expected. But another ship is now out there that can overmatch specifically 30 millimeters of armor. But there's a problem, or at least I think there was a problem, and there's a reason why it's a good thing they brought Vermont during this update. It wasn't free, right? To get that overmatch ability in the game for an American battleship, you had to shell out some doubloons. And that might strike some people in some weird ways. So what's another way to bring 30 millimeter overmatch into the game? Well, there's Vermont. I do find it interesting that it came so soon, because if the player base and everyone was to believe Wargaming, very greedy, they'd hold back Vermont for a little bit as to make Ohio that much more valuable of a purchase. But they've brought Vermont in now, which, hey, once again, pro-consumer move, pro-game balance, right? Adding another ship that can get to that armor threshold is important. Of course, this is 3 months down the line important, because if you buy the Bureau project now, it's not like tons of Vermonts are sailing on the high seas. It's going to take a couple months. But I do appreciate the fact that while Ohio was sort of in that exclusive zone, we now have a ship that can be gotten for free. I understand time is money and all that jazz, but relatively for free to get that same ability. Okay, that's enough of that rant. Let's talk about Vermont and my kind of thoughts about her. Overall, I think she's a pretty great ship, and there are some significant drawbacks you get for a lot of the firepower that comes with Vermont. The biggest one being the speed. I don't know if you've noticed, but we're not exactly a speed demon here. We're at 16 knots during a turn. We're topping out at like 22 knots. Not exactly the fastest vessel out there. And that is the big balancing factor with the ship. It is not a very maneuverable ship. You have to know your position. You have to know what you're doing. But if you catch other people off guard, it is a ship that is just going to slap people. And if you know the vessel, if you know its firing range, if you know it does have a slightly slower shell velocity, if you know how to deal with that and you get to know it, it is going to be a ship that absolutely tears up the enemy team, which, hey, is great. Am I going to be using it, though, very much? Probably not. No. Like, I understand the playstyle, and people are going to love it for wanting to love it. But me, personally, if I have Montana, Ohio, and Vermont all in my fleet, what ship am I taking out? It's probably going to be Ohio. But that's just because I like the playstyle of Ohio more than I necessarily like the playstyle of Vermont. They're both strong vessels. They're all strong ships. Maybe not so much Montana, but you know, it probably needs some love. But if I could only have one, I think the one I'm choosing at the end of the day is going to be Ohio. I personally just like the faster firing guns. Yes, there's less of them. Yes, they do less damage. But I like the mixture, the play style that Ohio provides more than I like the mixture of what Vermont provides. I'm still going to get it in my bureau. It's still going to be a very powerful ship. But overall, it's one that I don't know if I necessarily need every day in my life. Anyways, guys, the gameplay you've been watching, there isn't much more to see. We're going to take out their Zao, get 4 kills, and be denied the Kraken. But fun game overall, and shout out to the man at the top of the scoreboard, Dragon Hunter, a subscriber I know I see on this channel during the live streams. So shout out to you, my friend. Guys, if you like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. See ya.